Where was the stuff about deporting foreign criminals in the King's speech? It was briefed out yesterday that there was going to be a fast-track deportation of foreign prisoners to free up prison space and get wrong-uns out of Britain. But it looks like Sir Softy has bottled it. We've had Shabana Mahmood saying this about why Labour are going to release prisoners early.
We could see looters running amok, smashing in windows, robbing shops and setting neighbourhoods alight. In short, if we fail to act now, we face the collapse of the criminal justice system.
All right, well, there were 10,422 foreign nationals in jails in England and Wales at the end of March this year, up from 10,148 at the same point last year. So that represents about 12% of all prisoners. Now, each one cost the taxpayer about £47,000 a year to accommodate, feed, rehabilitate. That's a total cost of apparently nearly 500 million quid a year. That's nothing was said about it today. It's weird, isn't it? Could it be because Suella Braverman pointed out that under existing laws, Labour wouldn't actually be able to deport these people? People like Nigerian rapist Akindoyin Kinshipe, who escaped deportation after European judges ruled that he had a right to a private life in Britain. I mean, there is also the possibility that Sir Keir Starmer doesn't actually want to deport these people. Just weeks before taking over as Labour leader, he signed a letter calling for 50 dangerous offenders not to be deported on a flight to Jamaica. Several of them, shock horror, went on to re-offend. But he's not sorry about that.
Do you now regret that? And would you like to say sorry to their victims?
Well, Jack, look, what I would say is this. That I think most people are fed up to the back teeth with a government that is seeking to blame everybody else but themselves for the problems in relation to crime. If there's a problem with our asylum and deportation system, then ask yourself who broke it.
You know, arguably the problem with it was that people kept trying to block the deportations, but Labour MPs also stopped the deportation of Ernesto Elliott, who went on to kill a man with a machete. We have loads of these people still here. It's reported today that loads of violent foreign criminals have just come to Britain to avoid justice in their own countries. So the likes of Krzysztof Sielecko, who's suspected of leading an armed criminal group, is wanted in Poland to face charges of drug trafficking and an axe murder. His extradition was ordered by a district judge in Britain in May. Apparently, he's not actually appealed this extradition, but he is still yet to be removed. Of course, there's very little to stop more coming in now, isn't there? Labour's border plans are in complete meltdown. Today, the head of the Illegal Migration Operations Command just suddenly quit. And one of Labour's big plans to get tough on illegals is, just going to check my notes on this one, increase stop and search when they get off the boats. Right. Well, it looks like Labour might be soft on letting foreign criminals in, and even softer on kicking them out. Let's get the thoughts of my panel this evening. I am joined by the Director of the Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood. I have got landlord and activist Adam Brooks and author and journalist Rebecca Reid. Mark, has Keir Starmer completely bottled this? Does he not actually care about deporting foreign prisoners? He would free up a lot of space.
He's certainly bottled it. Whether he cares, I can't speak to, Patrick. Look, it seems to me we've got to be honest about our prison system. It is overcrowded. I think it's preposterous, by the way, that we announce sentences of 4 years, 8 years or whatever, and it's automatic, basically, that you're out after 50% of that time. That's going to fall to 40%. We also kid ourselves that prison is about rehabilitation. It partly is, but mainly it's about keeping dangerous people off the streets. And it seems to me that we don't need to provide that service to foreign nationals. If you have broadly committed a crime here, you are no longer welcome here, and in all normal circumstances we will send you home. There are some exceptions to that. I wouldn't want to catch a North Korean terrorist and then send them back to North Korea because they'd be celebrated and feted upon their arrival. But broadly speaking, if you have committed a crime here and you are not a British citizen, I think people are more concerned about the Polish axe murderers, aren't they, really? Exactly.
Or the Jamaican machete-wielding murderer.
I find this a really strange argument, because if I were assaulted by a non-British national here and they were going to be deported, the likelihood of being able to assure that they were going to be tried and serve time in their original country is tiny.
I really do think it's so once they've been in prison here
and served their time fully,
why don't we just deport them
afterwards?
Yeah.
And people who are naturalised to start with or otherwise?
People
As in
who are
people who are
foreign
citizens.
nationals. It's not-
The people who have citizenship, or people who don't have citizenship.
No, if
So
you've got
what does it
citizenship, you
count?
stay in Britain.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really care.
But if you're Polish,
if you're a
send you back to Poland.
I'm being quite straightforward about this, genuinely. I'm not trying to trip anyone up here. If you are a foreign national in a British prison, having committed a crime here, and we're talking about the fact that our prisons are so overcrowded that we're going to have to release people back out onto the streets, why aren't we just deporting these people?
Look, let's remember, we've got no prison places now. We are releasing violent offenders, burglars, thieves, robbers, that have done just 40% of their sentence. Now, that's endangering people further, in my opinion, and letting people off of their crimes. Now, the King said something today on behalf of the government. He said, we seek to strengthen the borders and make our streets safer. So finally, is that Labour admitting that importing people that we don't know, causing crimes and violently attacking people, are actually making us unsafe? I've sat on this settee for years now saying that we do not know who is in this country and committing crimes. We've had terrorists, gangsters, rapists and paedophiles. We don't know who half of them are.
I don't think anyone ever pretended that we didn't think there were some bad people coming. We just don't think people are
No, but
inherently
Adam,
bad for
it's
coming.
even worse than Adam says. This is the scenario in which we have identified the wrong uns.
Yeah.
So even if you've got a whole load of people coming in and you presume innocence, these are the people who have now been found guilty of some sort of crime that leads to incarceration, and even then we can't deal with it.
But what I think is interesting is that this was briefed out. So yesterday and then this morning, that this was really almost definitely going to be part of the King's speech.
And it isn't.
And it isn't. And Suella Braverman tweeted out about the fact that, this is a nice idea, but what Keir Starmer's going to find is that with our existing framework of law, you can't actually just get rid of these people. And I wonder how Labour's going to deal with this, because these are the kind of things that Labour, quite a few Labour MPs, including at times the now Prime Minister, have campaigned about, to keep certain people in this country. And if they now find out that they want to get rid of them, and that's a big if, by the way, if they want to get rid of them and they can't, frankly, I mean, they've only got themselves to blame, Rebecca, haven't they?
Well, I think the reason, I would imagine, I'm speculating, but I imagine the reason that it came out of the thing today is that they don't like to say they're going to do something unless they're pretty sure they actually can. Because if you say you're going to and then you don't, people can hold it against you. So I imagine what's happening right now is that Keir is a pretty impressive legal brain. Even if you don't think he's a good leader in other ways, he knows the law inside out. So I imagine a lot of work is being done to try and work out whether we can find a legal way to do this before we announce it.
Well, but the reason you can't find a legal way is that we're in ECHR and we have the Human Rights Act.
But she's going to have
So it is likely that not only Keir Starmer, with his no doubt immaculate legal brain, but government lawyers would have said, we cannot do this within the present framework.
they're probably making...
Suella is 100% right. Now, we can have an argument about whether you want to change that framework. I do. But the Labour government does not. And if you don't change that framework, you can't put this in the King's speech.
I don't think... I agree that's why it's not in the speech, but I also think they're probably examining all the options without leaning into the culture war of...
Well, that's what Rishi
screw
did with
Europe,
Rwanda,
let's leave, but trying to have a proper grown-up conversation about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a cultural when it's actually people's lives at play. And Adam, you know, this has come off the back. So this was omitted today for, I think, the quite obvious reason that we've all really identified, which is that under our current legal system, it is pretty obvious now to Sir Keir and everybody else that we can't actually deport these violent foreign thugs, OK? And you couple that with the fact there was a Border Force chief that's just stood down today. Their preferred target to be the new head of the Small Boats Command, or whatever they're calling it now, doesn't want it. OK, so that's not happened. We've already pulled out of Rwanda. They're now saying, all right, well, what we'll do is we'll increase stop and search when they get here. OK, fine. But as we've just identified, someone conceivably could land in Dover with a machete, some explosives and some drugs, and we would not be able to deport them. And I don't see what you can do about that.
No, look, what's fine? This is... Suella Braverman must sit back and think, thank God this is all coming to light now, because she was right. You know, and the Labour Party attacked the government on their rhetoric and that, but it's now coming to fruition. They cannot do what they want to do. And I don't actually believe that Keir Starmer does want to deport these criminals as before.
Why would he want criminals? Why would he want people...
Why did he stop deportation flights of violent criminals that then went on to murder someone?
In that specific case, I believe it was because he was an anti-death penalty campaigner and that person would have been put to death in their own country, and he very deeply believes that the death penalty is wrong.
Death on the streets over here.
Let's also remember...
The best option, I think, would be to close women's prisons. So there are only currently currently 3,062 women in prison in this country, as opposed to 77,000 men. And the vast majority of them are for non-violent crimes. So you don't really need women's prisons, and then you free up a whole load of space. She'd be in a wing.
Rose West have gone?
They would be in wings of Belmarsh.
And what message does that send out to society, that women can commit crime and not be put away?
The majority of women don't commit crimes, like they're non-violent crimes, and when they do commit crimes, it's through poverty.
Where, Rebecca, I think you've got a point, is we probably do lock up too many people for non-violent activity.
Yeah.
Be they women or men. We probably shouldn't send people to jail for shoplifting. We should probably financially penalise.
One second. So women want equality, but they don't want to get
No, well, I disagree with Rebecca. It should be gender-based.
We have 77,000 men in this country in prison and 3,000, just over 3,000 women. What is the purpose of having women's prisons, which are taking up budget and space, when the majority of them have committed non-violent crimes? The majority of those men are in violent crimes.
Women are innocent.
So the viewers know, earlier you wanted to defund the police, and now you want to get rid of women's prisons so they can just openly go and break the law.
Well, I want to defund the police because it's badly run and it doesn't function. Defunding the police doesn't mean not having any kind of police service. It means restructuring it so that you have psychiatric care, you have social care, so that coppers aren't basically social workers with truncheons. That is a completely different concept.
Affected by violent crime.
I have been affected by violent crime, Adam. Like 1 in 4 women in this country. Like 1 in 4 women in this country, I've been sexually assaulted. Of course I've been affected by violent crime. Don't make assumptions. That is a ridiculous thing to say. And like most women in this country, the police have no interest in dealing with violent crime when women go there. The Met Police have not dealt with a single burglary in the last 3 years. The police doesn't work.
Yeah, that's not a reason to defund them. That's a reason to reprioritise.
That's the same thing.
Yeah.
That's what defunding means.
It's not defunding them.
That is what
to use the money they have got rather more effectively.
Defund means...
So we're all agreed, aren't we?
Defund means restructure.
Violent criminals should be incarcerated.
Of which very few are women.
And I agree,
very few.
Are predominantly men.
Yeah.
They should be incarcerated. Violent criminals and dangerous people who are not British nationals should be deported.
Yeah.
We're all agreed.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's arguing about that.
OK, and crucially, just to bring us right back to where we started, as it currently stands, Keir Starmer, in my view, by omitting this from the King's speech today, despite it being briefed out earlier, has come to the astonishing realisation that we actually can't deport those people, even if he wanted to, which he might not want to.
And the taxpayer is on the hook for £500 million a year because of these foreign criminals in our prison system.
Lovely stuff. Great. All right. OK. Well, welcome to Britain, eh?